Hello, everyone. My name is Keith Levison. I'm managing broker for MVP Realty here in the Orlando area. And today, as always, I am joined by the man, the legend, the property manager, Nish. So how are you doing, Nish? It's been a little while.
I don't know. I'm blushing now, so you can't tell, but no, doing great, man. Everybody, I'm Niche with All County Property Management. Glad to be here. Thank you, Keith.
Awesome, man. Well, we had talked a little bit before we started recording. And one of the things that you and I agreed we wanted to kind of unpack today is negotiations and what that looks like, both on the real estate side and, in regards to sales and purchases, but also in regards to leases. And you shared something that I just found very, very interesting. So when we're talking about negotiations in your world, the property management world, how does that go? What does it look like?
Yeah. So first of all, I would say each market is different. So as people may know that the market in South Florida is different to the market in North Florida. So in certain markets there may be a room for negotiation, but in most of the times with how the rental market is right now, there isn't much negotiation. If a renter comes back and says, "Hey, well, I don't think this property should be renting for this much. I could, it could be at this much." We take in consideration what they say, but at the end of the day, if they don't rent it, 9 times out of 10, somebody else is going to rent it for the price that's listed at. Now, if the price is just too extremely high, then that's something the property manager needs to have a conversation with the landlord and say, "Hey, let's look at this price. I don't think it's a little bit too high, so we should probably bring it down a little bit if you're really not getting any interest on the property."
I saw something interesting today. I was reading an article where they're talking about rental properties, leases, the prices were starting to ease out compared to, I think last year they saw like a 16% jump, and they're not seeing that sort of increase now. How do you see that affecting negotiations, not just in a sense of when we're talking with potential uh, tenants, but
Tenants.
also the landlords
Yeah.
when they're thinking, hey, this is what the market's been like. Let me come in here and charge this.
Absolutely. And that's where expertise comes into play, right? We've had conversations about AI in the past where you can plug something in and it'll give you an answer. But that's where the expertise in the market comes in, is that this is where you have your fiduciary responsibility to the landlord, to the owner of the home. So you have to sit down and explain to them, "Hey, listen, I understand that this is where you want to be, and I have no problem listing the property for that much. Just be aware that within the week, I will come back to you and let you know I've only got this many hits on this property, and I think we should bring it down to this price." And explaining, just talking, having conversation, communicating, explaining that, "Listen, I understand that's where we thought the price would have been maybe a year ago, but unfortunately, we're not getting the same traction that we were getting a year ago. Prices are leveling out." And you're correct. Prices are tend to leveling out. Again, it depends on the market, but owners and landlords cannot. Uh, the high rates that they were charging before has came down a little bit, but not too much. It's still decent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's what the article was talking about, is not even necessarily that the rates have come down, but you're not seeing a 16% increase.
Exactly.
I think it talked more about 3%,
Three.
somewhere around there.
And that was always the average. The average was always 3 to 5%. For increase when it comes to rental properties. That's always been the average as long as I've been in it.
Yeah. Well, and that's good news for individuals that are looking to rent properties. What they're seeing is that, yeah, properties are still high. The rent is still high, but you're not looking at the same jumps
Mhm.
that you were last year. But I do think some people, in a sense, have some rude awakenings coming when it comes to that type of situation. I know that there are a few property owners that I've spoken to that they've been renting their properties well under fair market value for years. And if they decide to bring it up fair market value, you're talking far more than 16% increase. It's going to be a huge jump.
And that's where they need to take into consideration. Have you ever heard the saying, it's cheaper to keep them, right?
Mm,
So we got to look at, if we bump up somebody's rent by $500, just for example, are you're going to put this property back on the market? If this person has been living in this property for, say, 5 years, the time and money is going to take to put into this property to now rent it at fair market value, is that all worth it? I mean, it may be worth it, and we could sit down and weigh out the options and see what's a better option for you. Or could you have just done a, again, an example, a $250 increase and keep the same tenant,
mm.
not having to put money into that property just right now, but mentally preparing, maybe in the future you can.
Yeah. Well, and I know even those $250 bumps have been causing a lot of renters to think about, well, if it was bumped 250 this year, what's next year going to look like? And a lot of them have started looking to buy a home.
That's
And,
what I
yeah, a lot of them have entered the market.
That's what I say. I tell my renters, and people may think that, this is quite opposite to what I'm doing. We're gonna find renters. Renters are out there. Everybody's in a different situation. So I always tell the people who rent for me, hey, listen, maybe you should work on your credit. Maybe you should start building up a savings so you could put a down payment down. I could introduce you to a mortgage company. I could introduce you to a realtor so you could start working on that. It's just something that, if people want to progress and do that, then that's fine. Some people have said in the past where millennials don't want to purchase, they want to rent. Okay, that's fine too if you want to rent, but just understand that the market is going to increase. It's increasing for homeowners, so it's going to increase for renters.
Absolutely. Well, and when it comes to negotiations in the purchase and sale world, uh, I feel like it's starting to become a dead art. And what I mean by that is we are seeing more and more and more situations come up where a buyer submits an offer and the seller just responds, no, thank you. Doesn't even counter offer. Just no, no, thank you. And sometimes the sellers think that, oh, maybe like the rental market, oh, that's fine. I'm going to replace them. But it's not that simple,
No,
especially when we're talking about $250,000, $500,000, $1 million. It's not that simple. And a lot of what I often used to encourage people to look at is it's always important to know the realtor on the other end of the deal. And the reason that was so important was because you knew you had a good realtor on the other end when that realtor was fighting with their seller, saying, come on, give a counter offer. Don't just, because that meant we were going to get to a place where the deal worked out for everyone. And
yeah,
here's something interesting about it. Most people think I would be happy if I get my asking price and we're done. I would be happy. They actually did a research study and they found that people that participated in a negotiation process and may have ended up getting less than what they wanted or even paying a little more than what they wanted were more satisfied with their purchase or sale than individuals that got exactly what they asked for and everything ended.
really, that's
So,
interesting.
yeah. So the thing is, really, as realtors in our world, you are doing your customers a disservice if you're not trying to negotiate.
Hmm.
you're doing a disservice. And it's one of those things that is somewhat becoming a dead art because the market over the past few years was like, just throw money at it and and hope you get it. And that's kind of how it was. But the reality is participating in that, researching it, understanding what it takes to have a communication with a buyer or seller and the agent on the other side. It's just such a big factor. So I always encourage people, if they haven't done it, here are people I look into. Amazing books. Go read them. Outstanding. Phil M. Jones,
Okay.
exactly exactly what to say for realtors. He has a book just for realtors. But Phil M. Jones, um, he gives you some wonderful words and reasons behind those terms, sentences, words, and why they work. And what's very interesting is I have found his technique in particular to work amazingly through emails and text messages. I love his style. Another one is William Ury. William Ury, I believe, teaches at Harvard, and he originally set the standard for FBI negotiations,
Oh,
how to
wow.
get to yes. And just a wonder, go look up his TED Talk. If you know the book's over your head, check out the TED Talk. Beautiful. But the last one, and this is by far one of my favorites when we're talking about in person or over the phone, is Chris Voss. Never split the difference. And it is, he again was an FBI head negotiator. And what's very, very interesting about Chris Voss's approach is very different than a Phil M. Jones or William Ury. William Ury is trying to get us to a win-win scenario.
Hmm.
Phil M. Jones, what he's working on is, he says, shutting off the option of no, where Chris Voss is more into information gathering. So it's not even so much about the fact of I'm trying to convince you to do what I want or to get you to say yes to what I want, but it's about active listening and
Absolutely.
really listening to people and getting as much information. And quite honestly, the reason that's one of my favorites is it just makes you a better person.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
my
Active
wife
listening
wants me to
always does.
listen. So, but I think if you're a realtor, check out those books, definitely. And if you're in the rental market, be prepared to get told the rent is the rent.
Yeah. And here's the thing. If somebody comes up to me personally and says, "Hey, listen, I think the rent should be $50 lower," I'll take it to the owner. I don't mind taking it. I'll take any offer to the owner and see what the owner decides. 'Cause at the end of the day, it's their decision on how they want to do business and how much rent they want to collect. The key thing is just everybody's a person, right? Be polite to everybody. Don't brush anybody off. Like you're saying, like with the whole offer thing, with no counter offer. Like that's, it's sometimes it could be considered rude. So just, I guess what I would do is take the offer, bring it to the owner. If the owner says no, then I relay the information.
Mhm.
It's like you said, we want to find a solution that makes everybody happy.
Absolutely. Well, as always, Nish, thank you for your time. I really appreciate all the knowledge you share. If you're watching this video and you like, please like, subscribe, share, uh, tell everybody about All County and Nish. If you're looking to join a real beautiful brokerage, contact me about MVP Realty. I'd be happy to share some information with you. We're 100% commission based. So it's a great brokerage. But other than that, subscribe to the channel. What are you waiting for? Press the button. We're done. Have a good day.
Have a good day, everybody.